Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Military science fiction. In theory, it should be good. You've got valiant military heroes fighting against the fell forces of Xenos, I guess. And they've got proper military tactics instead of Hollywood trash. But oftentimes, military science fiction is just either boring or generic. It's boring in that the characters are planks of wood, and generic in that many of the plots are completely interchangeable. Well, today, we're taking a look at one of the very best military science fiction novels, Old Man's War.
Old Man's War was written by John Scalzi and published in 2005. The premise of the novel is pretty neat. It's half past the future and humanity is spread out into the stars. The Colonial Union controls all of human space and wages war 40K style against the various alien forces of the galaxy. To fill the ranks of its military, it recruits only the elderly from Earth. Why they do this is unknown. The novel is told from the first-person perspective of an old dude named John Perry. He and his wife signed up for the colonial military, and once they had turned the appropriate age, they would have joined up together. But sadly, Perry's wife dies, and he is left a widower. When the time comes, Perry joins up with the colonials and heads out for parts unknown. Now, Earth is kept in the dark about everything. The colonial government does a 40K and gives them only the bare minimum of information and lords their high-tech over them. There are no uniquely Earth ships, nor does anyone on Earth even know how to make the massive space elevator that the colonials use to ferry Perry and the other geriatrics off the planet. In space, we learned that the colonials are kind of like the Imperium of Man, but opposite. Instead of using kids to create space marines, they use old people to create space marines, due to the elderly having more patience and wisdom than a 12-year-old. I don't know about that. Have you seen some of those blue and red pillars out there? So yeah, the colonial government takes old people, both male and female, and turns them into space marines. They do this by transferring their consciousness into genetically and cybernetically enhanced cloned bodies. This does raise a few questions about the soul and just how high the tech level is for humanity. And it also makes the colonial military look like total dicks. This tech should make death and aging a thing of the past, but as you would expect, only the elite have access to it, not the foul peons of Earth. The old guys get new bodies and new troops to command. They are stronger and faster than human norm. They have nanomachine blood called smart blood that I totally want, because you can never get fatty even if you eat nothing but pizza and cheesecake. And if a mosquito bites you, it burns up. Man, I want that. The bodies are also green and can go without food for a long bloody time and can photosynthesize. They also have an AI in their heads called a brain pal that can give them all sorts of information. After Perry and his dudes get their new bodies, the novel talks about them having old people sex. Although they look young, but still, ew. And one of the females talks about how sex has to have a guilt component to it. I'm not sure if Mr. Scalzi has ever actually interacted with the female, but sure, let's go with that. Anyway, after the old people sex, they make it to a training planet. No! There is nothing more boring than the boot camp chapters in a military science fiction book. Thankfully, despite Mr. Scalzi being a virgin in 2005, he keeps them brief and shows that Perry can handle himself. And the training is mostly sane, and the F&Gs learn about their galaxy. It is teeming with life, and most of it's hostile. Some deer-looking Xenos eat human children, and humanity is fighting to carve out its place in the sun. All in the name of the immortal God Emperor, President Dude. The inner workings of the colonial government are not discussed heavily in this novel, and instead things are kept at ground level. Perry gets a rifle, and it's pretty basic. It uses a block of nanomaterials to create bullets, rockets, the usual video game stuff. Seems kinda low tech for a civilization that can transfer souls to new bodies, but whatever. Perry distinguishes himself in training, and the DI says that he is not that much of a dipshit. After that, Perry is shipped off to combat zones around the galaxy, and this is all good stuff. Pretty brutal, but still somewhat hopeful. Eventually, he finds a woman on a starbase that looks an awful lot like his dead wife. He tries to talk to her, but she just clocks him. Rude. Come to find out, she is a member of the Ghost Brigades, soldiers cloned from the DNA of the dead. And yes, you guessed it, Perry has the hots for his dead cloned wife. Everything comes to a head when the evil deer aliens get access to some super tech that allows them to track ships coming out of FTL. Can Perry fight the foul Xenos and save humanity? Find out in Old Man's War! Holy crap, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good-ass book. It does an amazing job at creating a whole new universe, and it does this by limiting its scope and not drowning you in bloody three-letter words. And it has you, the reader, learn about the world as the main character does. John Perry is a cool old dude. He kicks ass and takes names, but never gets into Gary Stu territory, and he earns all of his accolades, and he never feels like he is an author insert either. The other characters are pretty great and are memorable enough. The females could be better. They just act weird in places. And yeah, Scalzi really needed to go out on a date or something. The combat is nasty, Brutus, and short, and you don't get pages and pages of bloody battle scenes. The novel is a little violent, but never hardcore. It's a page-turner from start to finish, and will stick in your brain for years. This novel would get super bloody popular, and would lead to 5 more novels, each of which is okay. My favorite of the sequels is the direct sequel to this novel, The Last Colony, and it continues the plot line of John Perry. I cannot recommend Old Man's War and its sequel enough. It's got cool old guys doing cool old guy things, and has a satisfying conclusion, and thankfully it's in print, so you can just go buy the bloody thing. Beat it, normies. Perry ends up tapping that green ass of his clone dead wife. And dead wife starts talking all about her past self. Except not really. See, clone wife doesn't have any memories since they're only flash trained, so while she looks like Perry's dead wife, she has none of the memories, therefore it's not really her. But then the novel ships the two together anyway. Whatever. So to save the human race, Perry and a bunch of Ghost Brigade high-speed, low-drag clone commandos have to work with a highly advanced alien species called the Khonsu. They do this so they can figure out how the evil deer aliens got the tech to track the ships in FTL. So in order to communicate with the Khonsu, what they gotta do is ritualistically fight to the death. See, these advanced aliens are so xenophobic, they make the immortal God Emperor of mankind look like Captain Bloody Picard. They see all other species as beneath them, and won't even talk to them unless certain conditions are met. Perry and his boys meet the aliens on a space station. This space station will be destroyed by the Khonsu after the meeting, as it's been profaned by the foul humans. So the rules are this: for every Khonsu that is killed, the foul humans will get 1 question. The fights are tough, but the humans get the info they need. Perry, on a whim, asks the Khonsu why they fight humanity, and the Khonsu answers that it's due to some messed up concept of uplifting humanity through war. Pretty neat stuff. The final battle is pretty awesome. Perry kicks some ass. He defeats the evil deer aliens, he gets some alien tech, and he saves his weird clone wife. The novel ends on kind of an ambiguous note. Humanity is saved, but Perry is now deep into the colonial war machine, and he even goes on to become a recruiter. It's not entirely optimistic, but not pessimistic either, and kind of feels like the writer wanted to do the typical Mill SF thing of having a downer ending, despite most of the book being rather optimistic. Let's just call it a ambiguously happy ending. Okay, so since the only people listening now should be fans of this series and should have read a lot of this stuff, one of the issues I have with this novel series is it kind of has some logical issues. The Colonial Union can manufacture cloned troopers, and yet they're recruiting geriatrics from Earth. Why not just make a shitload of clone troopers? Why recruit anyone at all? In fact, in later novels, what ends up happening is Earth gets shut off from the Colonial Union, and thus the Colonial Union doesn't have access to new troops, and everybody's afraid of it collapsing. But they can just clone more. Why not just clone more? Why even introduce the concept of the Ghost Brigades if you're not going to take it to its logical conclusion? In the end, that doesn't really matter because this is a very character-focused book series, but it is something that rankles. And so that is Old Man's War, a great little story about an old dude getting his mojo back. If you have not read it in a few years, crack it open, and also be creeped out by dead cloney wife. Man, Scalzi, get a girlfriend already. I am General Lotz, wishing you good Herot and good Prelude to Extinction, whatever makes you happy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.